Welcome back to another episode of Mystery, Murder, and Magic. And it's Halloween week. So we're treating you to an episode all week, like every day. Got you a new episode. Now, we've already talked about the origins of Halloween. This morning, we talked about the top costumes, movies, and candy for Halloween this year. And we've talked about one of the most haunted buildings in America. So tonight, we're going to be talking about a scary phenomenon that people, including myself, have experienced, and that's sleep paralysis. We're going to talk about what it is, what causes it, and I'm going to share some experiences that people have had with it. I mean, it's even people that I know. So be prepared. It's a little weird, but you probably already know if you've ever experienced it.
What you're about to do, whether it's shock or hysteria, you may have learned something new. Welcome to Halloween Week for Mystery, Murder, and Magic.
Now, if you've never experienced it, unfortunately, you already know what it is. But if you don't know and you've never experienced it, consider yourself lucky because it's pretty dang frightening. Now, in a nutshell, it's like this temporary inability to move or speak during your sleep. Most of the time it happens just as you're falling asleep or when you're waking up. There's a lot more to it. For some people, like, they've experienced more than that, but it's a very common thing. And statistics say there are over 3 million cases of sleep paralysis each year. I had no idea that so many people experience it. Now, often with sleep paralysis, people experience hallucinations. And that's the scary part because you're not in control of your body or anything around you because you can't move. So sometimes that can bring on like a panic attack, and that just makes the whole situation worse. Well, some researchers believe that sleep paralysis is a mixed state of consciousness that mixes wakefulness and REM sleep. And that's according to the Sleep Foundation. Well, some people may only experience it one time, but others have recurrent sleep paralysis. And for those that have the recurrent type, I wonder if it's something that you ever get used to. I've had it happen 3 times, and I have to say it does get a little less scary, but the terror never goes away. Now, I've only had it, like I said, 3 times, but it was terrifying. And I also have recurrent night. I've got a cat that won't leave me alone, but I've also have recurrent migraines, and I don't think I'll ever use that. So I doubt that people that have like constant sleep paralysis could ever get used to that, or I wouldn't think so. Now, the main symptom, I guess you could call it a symptom of sleep paralysis, is that feeling of not being able to move your muscles. And the thing about that is that you're awake and you're aware that you can't move. And it's been estimated that 75%, and that's also according to the Sleep Foundation, of people who experience sleep paralysis also experience one of 3 types of hallucinations. First type of hallucination that you may experience is an intruder hallucination. Now, you feel that there's a presence or a person there in the room with you, and that person or presence isn't there to sing you lullabies. Now, the second type of hallucination is chest pressure hallucinations, and these are also called incubus hallucinations. Now, you feel like this distinct pressure, almost like somebody's sitting on your chest, and it affects your ability to breathe. Well, this type of hallucination and the first type, the intruder one, they can be experienced together. But the third type is called vestibular motor hallucinations, and sometimes that's called VM. But in this type of hallucination, you can feel like you're moving, like you're flying around the room, or you might even have like this out-of-body experience. Now, typically, sleep paralysis lasts just a few seconds, but it can last as long as 20 minutes. Usually it ends on its own, but sometimes when you hear another person's voice, you tend to snap out of it. Now, of course, medicine and science has explanations for it because that's what they do. And I know that some of their explanations are plausible because sleep paralysis does go with sleep. And I mean, that's a medical thing. But one explanation that they have is that it's sleep apnea. And that's a sleep disorder where you stop breathing repeatedly through the night. And it's also sleep paralysis has also been linked to people with panic disorders and a few other mental illnesses. But I also think that sometimes there's not a medical or a scientific explanation for it. And maybe something paranormal is going on where you're sleeping at. Now, I took to the internet and searched for other people's experiences with sleep paralysis. On one website I read, a man said that when he came in from a night out, he put his jacket on a hook on his closet door, then he went to bed. The next morning when he wakes up, he sees a woman standing at the closet door with that jacket on. She had her back turned to him, and then he said he also had a feeling that someone was laying in bed beside him, but he wasn't sure who it was. Because, I mean, he couldn't turn and look to see who it was because of the paralysis. Well, the woman in front of him starts slowly turning towards him, and when she gets to where he can see her better, he realizes that it's his cousin. But the thing is, that cousin had died the year before. Now, at that point, he was starting to panic, but he couldn't do anything about it because of the paralysis. All of a sudden, he regained control of his body, and the only thing that he sees in front of him is the jacket that he hung up the night before, hanging on that wherever he hung it. And beside him in bed where he thought somebody was laying next to him, it was just a blanket. He said that story still freaks him out. And another story that I found online said that during this person's first sleep paralysis episode, it was like a tornado of this tornado whirling through their head, and then all they could see was the color purple. But when the purple went away, they saw the Grim Reaper climbing up the side of their bed. That's kind of freaky. Now, I also asked people on my social media for their sleep paralysis stories, and I got permission to share them on this episode. Now, I'm not going to mention any names, but the first message I received said, well, long story short, my eyes were open, but I couldn't move and talk. And there was like this demon over me, hurting me. I was definitely hallucinating. Then they went on to say that seeing ghosts isn't rare for them, so it really didn't surprise them. Now, this person has only experienced it once, but says that it's something that they'll never forget. And I asked them if they could see the demon that was sitting on their chest or only feel it. And they said that that they could see it and feel it. So, there's that. And then another person who messaged me said that sleep paralysis is a very, very scary thing. It's impossible to move any part of your body, although your eyes are open and you can see, you just can't move. Your mind is telling you to call out to somebody at times. My mind wouldn't tell me to try to move. My mind would tell me to try to move my arm or leg to knock something off to get someone's attention, but no matter how hard you try, you cannot move any part of your body, and it feels like so much weight on your chest. They also said, I don't actually know how long it lasts, but to me it feels like a long time. The first time it ever happened to me, I didn't know what had happened, and I thought maybe I'd had a seizure or something. It was very scary. Even though I know what they are now, even when I do have a spell, it's still scary during that time of having it. And when I'm able to move, I sit straight up in a panic mode, sweating. Now, since I know now that it's sleep paralysis, it's not as scary as it was in the beginning, just a tad bit now. So I asked that person if they ever feel like somebody or something is in the room with them, and their response was that the feeling of the weight on my chest, it actually feels like someone is holding my chest down. Now, I do often wonder if it actually is someone or something. They went on to say that they experience it a few times a year, and they panicked so much after the first episode that they had their family doctor send them to a neurologist who confirmed it was sleep paralysis. Now, this person's brother also has experienced sleep paralysis twice, and his wife was awake in the room both times that it happened to him. And when it happened, his wife saw this black shadow over him that floated away as he was starting to be able to move. And yeah, that's just terrifying. I mean, can you imagine watching your loved one going through that sleep paralysis and that black shadow being over him? It kind of gives you goosebumps. Now, as far as my own experience with it, I've experienced it 3 times over the past 5 years, and it's been a long time, like I'd say a year since the last time it happened. And they're always the same. I wake up because I can feel somebody or something in the room with me, and I try to look around, but of course I can't move my head. I mean, I can see, but and it also feels like the blankets beside me move, so it feels like somebody's in the bed with me, but I know for a fact that I go to bed alone, so that freaks me out a little bit. And then that suffocating feeling starts, and I can literally feel somebody or something. It feels like they're straddling my chest, and it's like they're trying to press the life out of me, because it gets heavier and heavier as the seconds tick by. Well, when I start coming out of it, that someone or something sitting on my chest says, shh, like telling me to be quiet, and then it's gone. Now, the first time it happened, I was freaking out. And like that second friend told me, I thought, I was having a seizure or a stroke or something. Now, it is a weird feeling. And I know what's called, what it is, but it's still scary each time. I guess it gets a little less scary each time, but, now, whether it's a medical issue or a paranormal experience, or maybe even a combination of both, for those of us who experience sleep paralysis, it's one of the most frightening experiences you can ever have. Now, if you've ever experienced it and would like to share your story, you can send me an email to Andrea Lee, it's AndreaLea, at 3mpodcast.com. Well, that's all that we have time for today, but we'll be back with an all-new episode tomorrow. So y'all have a good rest of your day.